So I don't know how self-explanatory that was, but basically we're on the corner of North Avenue and Fulton at 9 o'clock in the morning, and you could see just within wherever you look, 30 people who were like dope sick and waiting for the dealer to let them cross the street and go wherever they needed to go to buy the drugs and then get that, you know, accomplished for the day. And there may have been 1 or 2 people randomly walking by that weren't drug addicts. I'm like, is he a drug addict? He's like, no. But yeah, mostly that was what was going on there. And there was, I contacted a niece because there was a sign for himself as a candidate in the district right there. And I figured you might have some insight into that, or at least some perspective. But first I'd like to talk to you, Francis, about your experience with it, where you're coming from, if you can just, you know, shine some light on it from your perspective.
Well, I wasn't born a drug addict. I didn't want to do drugs. Just happened one day. A friend of mine, when I was about 18 years old, down Perkins Projects, he asked me to introduce me to the needle.
Jesus.
Cocaine. And I tried it, and I didn't like it because I did not get high off of it. And I said that I wouldn't do that again because someone would be giving me anything. And so years later, when I hit 25, I tried it again, and I liked it. It was like no other high I ever had. I'm chasing it for years. For 15, 20 years, I'm still chasing it, trying to get the same high that I had the first time. And I wasn't never gonna feel it again. I couldn't find that high.
So you're not talking about heroin?
Well, I'm talking about
Cocaine.
crack cocaine.
Okay.
And shooting. I was an intravenous drug user.
There are about, what, like 100 cocaine-related deaths a year just in Baltimore City, and about 600 opioid-related deaths now just for the last few years in the city.
810 since 2015.
But that's a whole nother ballgame, I'd imagine.
Yes.
I didn't know that you could inject cocaine.
Yes.
I didn't know.
Absolutely.
It will bust your heart.
But I want to say this to you, Brother Francis, so I can help you move forward. When I hear that your introduction to getting high were shooting cocaine originally, because you and I know back during the time when cocaine was introduced to our community, it was freebasing.
Yes.
Okay.
I never tried that.
And you never tried it.
No.
So you telling me the first time you chose to indulge in an illicit drug, it was shooting cocaine.
Yes, I injected
basically mean you basically introducing yourself to busting your heart.
Busting it wide open.
I get you, and that's what I want to, you know, relate to you on, because I understand where you're coming from. You know, along the lines of your initial introduction. Because, you know, I argue with people every day. They talk about marijuana being a gateway drug. There's no gateway drug when you start out shooting cocaine.
You graduate from one substance to the next. Mine was huffing glue, gold spray paint.
Okay. Okay.
Back in the 70s, they had something called locker room or rush.
Okay.
And you graduate. You get higher and higher.
You're saying that basically you had a chemical dependency.
Yes.
That you didn't get addressed, and it was kind of slowly but surely built up on.
It was more like peer pressure with my other friends. They get it, and I wanted to.
And you say this was 18, your initial involvement.
Yes.
And then you're saying
with the heavy
one down the road. You say you was 25.
Yes, I was 25, and that's when I kind of dove in it.
How long have you been clean?
October 31st, 2015, Halloween. I gave the devil a birthday present that I didn't want it no more.
Is it 2015?
2003, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yes.
I heard you say first, it was 15 years.
Yeah.
That's about right.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent.
I was in my mother's yard. I was sleeping in my mother's yard. Sharing a box of Cheez-Its with the rats.
In the backyard?
In the backyard. My mother wouldn't let me in the house. because of my drug habit.
And the bottom line is, brother, so right now, today, you done been through a metamorphosis.
Yes, yes.
And
I went to
that's to be
prison since
commended.
then. Yes, I went to prison.
Man.
Yes.
Because I'm going to tell you something. Not many knows how to retreat from that sojourn.
I got rescued. I went to prison for 3.5 years.
And that way you was scared straight or scared
Yes,
straight.
scared straight. I thought about all the times that I could have died.
Yeah.
Because of drugs.
Yeah.
Riding a bicycle down Ashland Avenue, 7 o'clock in the morning, rush hour, and falling asleep on a bicycle, riding it, because my body was shutting down because I was up for days. Up on the 535 Lakewood Avenue, up on the ladder, painting the corners, and I fell asleep, and I woke up, I was going backwards.
I want you to elaborate on something very quickly, brother. I want you to elaborate on the distinguishing differences between being addicted on crack, which we don't know what was in it, because nobody you got it from was scientists or chemists. And I want you to elaborate in the difference in heroin.
Well, heroin was not my drug of choice, but I did inject it twice. That was only because the person that I was getting high with, it was hers, and I had my capsule right next to it, and I picked up the wrong one. And I injected it. It was the best high I ever had.
I hear you, son.
It was very good, but I didn't like it. I didn't like the after effect. I didn't like the nod. I didn't like the scratching. I didn't like the dozing off. I didn't like any of that. I wanted to be aware of my surroundings.
Another quick question. So you never engage in speedballing?
No, sir. No.
It sounds like an interrogation. We're sorry to put you on the spot. No,
But
It's all right. It's all right.
You know where I'm coming from.
It's okay. I understand.
People don't even know about speedballing. Now, I noticed you started off with freebasing.
Yes.
But actually, when
Yes.
cocaine first came into the black community, it was for high sedated people, and they snorted it.
Yeah.
Then they went from snorting
To basing.
They went from snorting to freebasing. Not freebasing, but what you just said, speedballing. You left that out.
Yeah.
Then they went from freebasing to then they went from that
Speedballing to freebasing.
freebasing, and then from freebasing to this crack cocaine. And what I noticed about the drug gang was that once they started that, I don't care what you tried to take from a woman on welfare during Christmas time. Them kids was gonna get their Christmas. But after crack cocaine through, all that went out the window. Women started losing their kids. Women started abandoning their kids.
Yes.
So, and the reason why initially they was giving so many sentences, higher sentence for crack cocaine versus somebody that had 25 or 40 kilograms, because of the effect that it would have on the mind.
Exactly.
The after effects. People would be gone from home and leave babies. I'm talking about infants in the house. They'd be gone 3-4 days, but it seemed like 2 hours to them. And that's what really started the deterioration of the community.
That's right. Yes.
And not just in the black community, because in South Baltimore, Southwest Baltimore, you had a lot of whites down there that were engaged with the drug game, was able to get more money than blacks, so they start cohabitating, and all kinds of stuff started happening then, man. You know what I'm saying? So I noticed that in 5 zip codes, 15, 16, 17, 29, 30, 13,000 people are released from prison, but 9,000 go to Southwest Baltimore to live, where I work at, where I do reentry. This is why I know these things. And you left that, I think that's a real important point, because after snorting, the habit would get so high they couldn't afford to keep on snorting, so they went to speedballing. The thing about speedballing, you could go up, but then you could use the heroin to come back down, and then suffer the effects.
But you got to understand that, Brother Abdul, a lot of individuals in our community perceive heroin to be a dirty drug. So, in other words, for you to become a speedballer, you had to accept heroin first.
So crack's more
I agree with
accepted?
that. But the insanity of the whole
Crack's
thing
more
is...
accepted?
Yeah, that
Crack's
was a
more
perception.
accepted.
Oh,
Still
no,
or
not
no?
crack, not crack.
No.
He's talking
Free
about
base
freebase.
cocaine.
Okay.
And another thing is so insane about the whole concept. You have people who actually snort heroin, think that they're better than the people that shoot it. But you still put it in your system. I mean, that's the insane thing about it. It's called deceptive intelligence.
And it's just as addictive? Probably?
Yes. It just take a little longer to hit you, but you don't have no tracks on your arm, so you think that you're different. These people that go to work, the school teachers, that's people that got good jobs. There is a thing called functioning addicts.
Functional addicts, yes.
Okay.
Hey, Brother Muhammad, I want to give you this here real quick so we can make sure we qualify functioning addicts very, very quickly. Molly, a lot of brothers came from Vietnam after the 60s, and most of them had indulged in some kind of heroin.
Opium.
Vietnam,
Opium.
straight up stuff. And when they came here, a lot of them got jobs at Spurs Point and General Motors, and they were sniffing every damn day, and yet they maintained a job or two because they was what you would call
Functional addicts.
There you go. See, I don't have to. I can let you finish. I like that one. I like that one. But the bottom line is, heroin has had its grip on us for a long while, but we have never had it at the degree that we have it now. We think it's a means to some other end other than addiction.
I had no idea we were going to be talking about crack, cocaine, honestly. So I met Francis. We were both stopped at a red light on Charles Street, and I saw him interacting with someone in a wheelchair who was panhandling, yes. and Francis turned to me and said he doesn't want to stop. You know.
Well, you talked about
you
talked about Fulton and North Avenue. Actually, from Fulton and North to Penn North, that whole area,
The whole strip.
is a drug strip. And something else you left off. You talk about all the drug addicts you've seen, the few people you've seen that wasn't addicted. But I go to work up that street every day to Tawana Avenue where I run a reentry program. There'd be police cars sitting out there. They gotta know what's happening. If I know what's happening,
that's what Kenny said. He said they know what they're happening, but they're already.
Yeah, man, that's where we're there.
He said they don't arrest them. They're arrested in the community.
Exactly. They feel like, and what they're doing. This kind of epidemic is in communities that's strapped for resources, strapped for job skills, strapped for workforce development. This is why they out there early in the morning chasing drugs. There's nothing else for them to do with their miserable lives. So they're just seeking an escape from the reality that they've been forced in.
Well, there's got to be something else for them to do. But
well, until they put the type of resources in those communities, bring the type of drug addiction in the communities, and see, Baltimore have a lot of resources system, but you know what they don't do a good job? Getting the message out. When I was a drug counselor 30 years ago, people would come in my office ill, not hanging out their nose, they ready to go. I'd be on the phone 2 hours, couldn't get a bed. But you can get treatment on demand now.
right, so that's different.
So you have to get the message out. But they didn't do that until certain prominent people, our Governor Hogan, who I respect, I think his niece died from an overdose.
Oh yeah?
Right? Yes, absolutely. And then they was ready to put money in it. So this out there, but we don't do a good job as practitioners getting the message to the people or going to the corner to get the message. Like, for example, when HIV became mainstream, they would send vans to those communities and give people free tests and give them
free
needles to use and all of that.
Minor and Milton Avenue.
Now they're doing the same thing with the drug. I forget the name of it. But they do reverse it. And you was talking about earlier.
Naloxone.
Now you can get that. You know, I had one of the person that worked on my job in marketing, who I deals with all the time, was on her way to take a girl to the Girl Scouts and seen a guy laying on the ground who had overdosed. She had to have it in her pocket, but got out and saved his life.
And I want to elaborate on what you just said there, because I listened to Tom Joyner's show one morning. And he said, if you got a health care insurance, which I got, say you can go to Rite Aid and get that thing to save any junkie's life for $1.
That's right. Yeah.
And I didn't know that. You know, but the bottom line is, you know what I'm gonna do to have one? And I don't, because I got relatives that's got indulgence problems. I leave it at their house or keep it at in my car. But the bottom line, if I can get one free, it would behoove me to do that.
I think every caring human being that realizes that every life is precious and valuable should, if they know how to administer it. And we teach 3 courses in bonds of course, we teach you free and I'll let you know when the next one come up. Should at least keep it around, because you can actually save a life. And it's experience like that motivate people to turn their lives around.
20,000 people have been trained to do that now. That's part of Baltimore's 3-pronged strategy for responding to opioids, which this is needless to say is nothing about crack cocaine or anything. I don't know what they're doing about that really. But naloxone training and distribution is the first. Expanding access to addiction treatment, so the treatment centers, and then the third is the education about opioids. I don't know really what form that's going on.
We got to do a better job at education and identifying and directing people to the resources.
And Molly, I want to, because you know we got Molly here. Molly might be a little bit naive as to right where we are, and I don't presume that, Molly.
Well, my uncle and my half-brother both died of overdoses.
Heroin.
Correct.
Okay, so the bottom line is that you understand the strategicness of it. But I want to say this to you, that when it comes to heroin, when it comes to basically winging yourself off of it or getting off of it, easier said than done, because it's I'll give it to you this way. I give it to you this way, Molly. This is what I want to say to you. First of all, cocaine, crack is a mental addiction.
Yes, it is.
Heroin is a physiological addiction.
Yes.
In other words, and this is the distinguishing differences. In other words, for you to come off heroin, you're going through some pain.
Yes.
For you to come off cocaine or crack, then you got to get your head together mentally.
Yes.
Just say, I'm not going to do it no more.
Right.
But let me say this. The quality of heroin today is so minuscule that Percocets, opium, Oxycontin,
the same effect.
all the things, Vicodin, all of those have become the drug of choice for many people in the street. And let me say this, many of the dealers are doctors. There have been big arrests in Baltimore City. There are many investigations going on where folks are addicted to opiates, then they get kicked off the program. The doctor's making money, then just kick them right off, no withdrawals, because they sign a paper that say that if I find something in your urine other than this, you out of here. And then they have no other choice but to do what? Go to the street. But this also drives crime. This is what's causing the crime. You got young guys out there dealing, they never been trained on how to shoot a gun, killing 7-year-old girls, shooting their cars, going through the hood, trunks and killing girls. So many children have been caught in crossfires that it's a shame. And I don't think that as a community, I don't see the outrage that I think in my humanity and my dignity as a human being, it should be outrage. Now, I think if it happened in Roland Park, it would be outrage. But because of where it happened and where you went to, Fulton and North Avenue, North and Penn, there's no outrage. People getting gunned down every day.
I want to ask you a question there.
Crime is escalating every day. Carjackings. Officers saying, being told that guy got a gun, ain't my district, I don't work that post.
Brother Francis.
Yes.
Insane.
Now, any good addict know that the dope ain't shit no more.
It's not the same. It's poison.
Okay, it's poison.
Killing you.
So that basically means they are mixing it with any. Now, wait a minute. Now, I'm gonna give you something now, because I can give you this here, because I studied this here a year ago. Dope used to be cut with quinine and bonita.
Bonita, quinine, yes.
Now, okay. Now, you know as well as I know, a sniffer, like he was talking about earlier, don't suppose to sniff no quinine.
No.
But you know as well as I know, the chemists who mix this don't care if they mixing quinine, bonita, or anything else.
Rat poison, horse tranquilizer.
And that fentanyl thing.
That fentanyl thing, that's what I want to go with.
It's an elephant tranquilizer. You know the size of an elephant? And you actually rolling your sleeve up, and they put it in you, and it's killing people at record numbers.
100 times stronger than heroin.
Than heroin.
Say
now people are putting the fentanyl in.
Just a match head will kill you.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't know what they're getting.
No.
And the insanity is when they get the word something good, instead of running from it,
I want that killer.
They run to it. It's a serious situation, Mark.
I want that killer.
It's a real serious situation.
But brother Francis, I'm gonna tell you something, man. I commend you because not many can back off, and even when you back off, not many can stay persistent.
When I got out of prison, November 28th, 2006, the people that I used to deal with, they see me, knowing I'm clean, and they offer me a package. And I told them that I retired. And they're still out there on the same corner.
Good for you. And it don't change, it's a cycle.
The bottom line is, though, I'm gonna ask you a question. What is the distinguishing difference on your perception, sir, that you don't need that no more?
I want to do the right thing and live.
Longevity.
Yes.
Longevity.
Yes. I seen what it does to people. I see what it can't do to people. Can't make you get your act together.
One thing about drugs, it don't jump in you. You gotta take it and put it in you.
I had it offered a lot of times.
Yeah. It just don't work like that.
Some people just look for excuses to use.
But may I interject something that I think is very pertinent to the subject that I know many of us are not aware of. Police shootings have escalated in this country tremendously. You know that, right? Particularly in Baltimore, Chicago. I read an article the other day after you called me, Molly, and learned this, and it blew my mind that anchor institutions like Wells Fargo, Bank of America, and other anchor institutions are literally making millions up to $1 billion off of interest that cities and municipalities and county governments are going to banks of that size to get loans to pay off families that's being brutalized for misconduct and murder. And I got 5 cities here and I can show you how devastating the situation is. Chicago, between 2010 and 2017, estimated police brutality bonds was $709.3 million. They paid in interest $1 billion, but you know who paid it? The taxpayers. So they collect your tax dollars and paying them back for the police brutality.
I would not want to be a police officer.
Huh?
I would not want to be a police officer and have to go to the drug dealers.
Come on now.
You want to try to arrest that drug dealer?
No, sir.
No. How are you going to arrest that drug dealer?
Do your job.
Do your job.
Do your job. You obligated to protect the human welfare.
But she said, but she don't want it. She don't want it. And the other thing is this though. You know what it does to you, Mercer? What it does is it takes money from education, healthcare, money that could be used to strengthen communities, and police are now feeling like, well, the city got my back. They're shooting to kill, and we're paying them millions of dollars. Forget the kind of money we done spent in Baltimore lately. We know we scrapped, closed recreation centers. And I always wondered, where are they getting this money from? They buying bonds from these institutions I just named, and they paying our police officers but taxpayers. No, they ain't paying the interest rate.
Taxpayer.
We ain't paying the interest rate. So we get 37 more cameras at the tune of an additional $22 more million annually. To pay off officers that's pregnant with the Bill of Rights, that's brutalizing the community, and they only doing it in certain communities.
Well, say it to you,
Most of the tax money's coming from those neighborhoods like Roland Park.
Exactly. But where the killers is happening at? The killers not happening in Roland Park, they're happening in deprived communities, and taxpayers throughout Baltimore City. Everybody got a job, like you and I, Mercer, to go to work every day, we footing the bill. That's criminal.
I want to say this to you, brother.
That's criminal, man.
And you're correct. But I want to say this to you. In the case of Freddie Gray, no gun was pulled. In the case of that police
They got
resigning,
$6 million.
wait a minute.
They got
in, the
$6
case,
million.
in that case of the police resigning last week, no gun was pulled. He just pummeled up with his fist.
What they said murders and misconduct in office.
Yeah.
That guy gonna be paid off millions. So here we got institutions like Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, Wells Fargo.
They pay off on it all.
They giving the bond and getting returns astronomical out of our pockets. And they got a bill of rights to protect them, and we the ones that's being brutalized, the citizens. Something wrong with that picture. And the average person that's walking the street paying all these tax dollars are unaware of it.
I'm gonna ask you a question. Does this come from the city administration or this legislative out of Annapolis?
No, this came from ACRE, Action Center on Race and the Economy Institute. They did a study, comprehensive study, identified 12 cities.
So it's the city money they borrowing. The city is borrowing.
Counties and cities.
Okay, all municipalities.
All municipalities.
I got
It's
you.
bond the money to pay off misconduct of police officers that's shooting, maiming, crippling people. They got the cameras now, so you see it, you can't get around it. We all seen what happened last week when he beat that boy mercilessly. Boy ain't even swing back. I honor him for not swinging back. That would have been a tough one for me.
Can I say something to you? But once you on the loose end of a dizziness,
you can't.
You ain't got no girl.
Man, listen, man. Beat that boy merciless.
Yeah, I live 3 blocks from
Man,
there.
beat that boy merciless, man. Merciless. And what's going to happen is he's going to get $2-3 million, and guess who's going to pay for it?
we are. But I want to say this to you. I want to say this here because I had the opportunity to run it, and my daughter's a retired police officer, 20 years on the force, 4 years in the Navy. And I want to say this to you, and I can honestly say this as a personal experience I had last week, Monday, and it was a sergeant in the Northwest Police Department, Sergeant Armstrong. And I'm telling you something, I'm a very, very hard guy on police, but I got to say this here. It's a lot of good police that we have out here on the force that is about the broad good. And when you got a robe, you have a robe.
I agree.
The bottom line is, but I'm gonna tell you something. And I got to honestly say this here, and I used to say something differently about black police officers because I basically perceive a lot of them to be acquiescers or bootlickers, and that might not necessarily be so.
Let me just get this in before we close. We got a few minutes. It's unconscionable that banks like Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and Goldman Sachs gets a cut when crook cop kills an innocent person. They did research. The report released in June studied the use of police brutality bonds in 12 cities and counties, ranging from mega municipalities like Los Angeles to cities like Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. It includes 5 in-depth case studies of Chicago, Los Angeles, Milwaukee, Cleveland, and Lake County, Indiana. And those was the stats that I sent you. They done made cop killing a business.
Interesting. But I'm gonna tell you something.
Follow the money trail.
I want to say this to you, Abdul, and I'll bet you money on this here. If you follow the same people that you just elaborated on the prison industrial industry, I'll bet you that's a large part of their portfolio.
Follow the money trail.
All right. Well, I'm sorry that our topic got wound up into that. But the fact is, yeah, people are dying every day from overdose, and it's obviously a really complicated issue. We brought back to police brutality. I'm sure there's a correlation between drug dealing in a community and police brutality in a community.
Well,
I would encourage.
The guy was angry because he had locked the guy when he was back out on the street. So, they feel helpless too, to your point.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm working, trying to protect him. He lost it, man. Yeah. He knew the camera was on.
Yeah. But Mr. Francis, I want you to elaborate very quickly on what you can say to any addict out there that need to come into hand, that need to get a hold of themselves. Give me your most profound understanding on what you think is necessary.
Get in the treatment.
Get in the treatment.
If you or someone you know needs help with substance use or mental health in Baltimore City, and this is from Baltimore City, call the hotline at 410-433-5175.
433-5175.
And in Park Heights community, I can vouch for this here because I've seen many come through there, even on drinking beer. Gardenza is an excellent program up in Park Heights. I believe it's the 4500 block. Denza, an excellent program up there, and I pray that if the sponsors of that program up there hear my shout out to them, they'll come to our station in reference to maybe a sponsorship.
410-433-5175. Thanks for listening to City Radio. Thanks to our guests Francis Stokes, Anis Abdul Rahim, and Timothy Mercer. I'll thank you again.
Thank you.
Don't forget Radio on Fire and City Media Radio. Please go and blast us out. Do as much as you can for us on social media and otherwise. We thank you.
Excellent.